a country in West Africa. Last week, we spoke about Liberia. Similarly, we're going to speak about Sierra Leone today. Sierra Leone was a country created by British abolitionists and philanthropists in 1787. Sierra Leone is actually part of what you call the triangular transatlantic slave trade. When the slaves were taken from Africa, from Sierra Leone, to the New World, which is the Americas, they work in plantations. After the abolition of slavery, most of the slaves did not like living in the Americas. They were looking for somewhere to go. Some of them even escaped and found themselves in England. During this period, a few abolitionists, such as William Wilberforce and Granville Sharp, who were British politicians also and religious people, their conscience was really troubling them. So they wanted to do something to help these slaves. But the slaves could not really fit well in British society. So they decided to look for a province of freedom for these slaves. The province of freedom became Freetown. Freetown today is the capital of Sierra Leone. So this is how the slaves moved to settle and establish themselves in Sierra Leone. Okay? Once they got there, just like in the case of Liberia, they had to deal with the natives who were already part of that world. In Sierra Leone, you have a lot of tribes. When you look at ethnicity, you have the Mendes, you have the Timinese, you have the Lobo. So you have people of different tribes who are all living in this space. So this explains why we always have issues with tribalism. Now that new elections are coming, President Ernest Koroma is retiring soon. He has to make way for a new president. Right now, we have over 17 political parties in Sierra Leone. All of them are vying for the position of president. Who is going to be the successor of President Koroma? Of all the contenders, I think there are three principal guys who are receiving the most attention. First, we have Samura Kamara of the APC political party. Next, we have Julius Mada Bayo of the SLPP party. And we also have Kande K. Yomkela of the NGC political party. So these are the three main candidates who are really receiving the most attention from the voters. Samura Kamara is the handpicked candidate of President Ernest Koroma. Koroma will be retiring soon. He wants to make himself the chairman of the APC party. So which means, even though he's retiring, he's going to stay in politics. Is this good for Sierra Leonean democracy? We don't think so. Sierra Leone is a country that is struggling to make a transition from a failed state to a new democratic nation. As such, it is not a good thing to have a president who wants to hang on and be the chairman of the party. It's going to create a conflict. We can predict this because we've seen how this worked out in Cameroon, for example. Amadou Ahidjo thought he could retire as president and remain as a puppeteer who pulls strings of Paul Biya. Little did he leave office, did he realize that he could not really control Paul Biya. So something similar may really happen in Sierra Leone, and we don't want that. To protect the fragile democracy in Sierra Leone, it would be a better idea for Koroma to exit the stage. All the world is a stage, and all the men and women are merely players. That's what William Shakespeare teaches us. So, President Ernest Koroma, you've served your 2 terms. Please retire to the sunset. Leave the politics. Let new players emerge and run the country. You've done your best, and we think your best was not really enough because we can really criticize you a whole lot. You tried to really manage intertribal and interreligious strife, but your investment programs were not really that good. You came with the idea that you're going to help the country avoid corruption, but your government has been very, very corrupt. You use big capital projects funded by China to siphon money from the country. Sierra Leone is a very poor country, yet President Koroma is one of the richest guys in Africa. So this is not good. Political office in Africa should not become a way to enrich yourself. When you do this, we say it is wrong. And that's why we're telling the people, do not vote for the APC this time in Sierra Leone, because it's going to be the same status quo. Okay? We want to change the status quo. We want a new candidate to emerge. Samura Kamara is the puppet of President Koroma. Do Sierra Leoneans want to have a puppet? No, we don't think so. Sierra Leoneans want a fresh face. What about Julius Maada Bio? Well, he had run for office before and did not make it. He is a former brigadier of the army. He's really popular among some people in Sierra Leone. In fact, we've even gone on YouTube and watched some videos, and we've also watched some videos on Facebook. His rallies are really interesting because he even speaks to the people in Pidgin.
I believe in Sierra Leone. I don't pass all over the world, but I know one day, get any other passport apart from Sierra Leone. The passport of Sierra Leone.
And they understand the language, which is Creole. So he's a really charismatic guy. But we think the person that we want to really endorse for this election is Kande K. Yomkela. He is the future of Sierra Leone. The African nation wants to endorse Kande K. Yomkela. He is the right person for Sierra Leone because he is progressive. Look at his background. He doesn't come with a lot of baggage. Most of the politicians in Sierra Leone have a lot of baggage. So Sierra Leone needs a fresh face. Sierra Leone needs a new start. So we need somebody like Kande K. Yomkela for president of Sierra Leone. The youth are clamoring for him. In fact, the Koroma gang was struggling to disqualify Kande K. Yomkela because they saw that this guy is great. The people love him. This is the man who represents the aspirations of the poor people of Sierra Leone. So the African nation, all the elders of the African nation are telling Sierra Leoneans to vote for Kande K. Yomkela. He is the right person today because he represents a progressive wing of the country. The poor people are supporting him, and we urge Sierra Leoneans to support Kande K. Yomkela. He has international experience from the UN, so he can really navigate international waters for Sierra Leoneans. So we're telling Sierra Leoneans that the person who can help you guys win the future is Kande K. Yomkela. Next, we move to South Africa. South Africa is a country we've been talking about in our show quite a whole lot. We've been talking about corruption in South Africa. South Africa is a great country. After the whites handed it to Africans, South Africa lost its shine. Since Zuma came, Jacob Zuma has just been a corrupt guy who has really been ineffective as a president. Cyril Ramaphosa is already poised to take